Source's microphone entity, ENV microphone, is an interesting thingamabob. It can pick up sounds around it and transfer them somewhere else, making it the audio equivalent of point camera, but it can also signal to other entities when it hears a sound and even tell them how loud the sound was. This opens up more use cases for the entity than you might expect. I won't show every single microphone though, because for a lot of them, once you see what it's for once, there's not much point in seeing it again. Let's clear out the obvious one. Anytime you hear a character who's located someplace else, their voice is being transmitted through a microphone. There are multiple ways for these cops to notice you, but one is to make a combat sound, which will be picked up by a microphone. A combat sound is exactly what it sounds like, any sound related to combat, firing a gun, taking damage, and so on. The gas traps use microphones to detect when something nearby should create a spark that ignites the gas. These microphones are set to only hear explosions and bullet impacts. What that entails is a bit odd. Obviously, a conventional explosion counts as an explosion, but for whatever reason, there is code to force an extremely small explosion to be audible to NPCs and microphones from at least 128 units away no matter what. This would only be observable with an explosion whose radius is less than 85 1/3 units long. I doubt there are any explosions that small. The only other thing that counts as an explosion in the sound system is the explosion of an energy ball, and only in the episodes. I'm sure this was done for other reasons such as alerting NPCs to attacks happening around them, and its ability to light the gas traps is unintended, but it's honestly not out of place at all. For bullet impacts, a regular bullet impact obviously counts, but so do melee impacts. And that's it. A crossbow shot's impact or whatever other thing you're thinking of does not count. In the first map of episode 1, when the train below passes by, it's actually too quiet to hear well, so they put microphones on the rail to basically lift the sound up. Similar ones exist in some other places to carry a sound farther. Next up is Outland 9 in episode 2. This room has a microphone that listens for explosions, causing this window to break, causing this zombie to pull out a grenade. You can activate this microphone with a grenade placed on the other side of this wall. This hardly affects anything, but it's a bit funny. Later on, we find an entire group of microphones which detect an explosion under this metal flap thingy. Valve realized that this one could go poorly, so they made it so that the microphones are only active when there's a grenade inside this trigger. This setup is reasonably well done. The only flaw is that the grenade in the trigger and the grenade that's exploding don't have to be the same grenade. Exploiting this flaw, though, gets you virtually nothing. Two microphones on the other side of the flap also detect explosions and apply force to the flap in the other direction, though the force they add is really small. And finally, one more microphone detects bullet impacts and explosions to make this ragdoll fall down. All throughout White Forest Base, there are tons of microphones. Magnuson has one that follows him everywhere he goes to deliver his first intercom message. For his second message, he's teleported to another room and speaks in front of two other microphones at once. He needs two microphones for this one because the message comes from two different speakers, and the microphone entity was never programmed to send a sound to multiple locations at the same time. They likely kept the microphones in a separate place because the player could throw a grenade up to the place Magnuson was at, and then that explosion would be heard on the intercom.
And I look forward to hearing the staff's excuses for why they couldn't handle it themselves.
A microphone near the rocket's hatch door listens for combat sounds and bullet impacts. This microphone causes Lamar to jump into the hatch. Lamar can also be triggered by simply getting close. Another microphone near Uriah's door lets you get his attention by making basically any sound. Except breaking this glass. In the final map, the conversation between Eli, Kleiner, and Magnuson is being relayed to a place near the start so the player can hear it. This involves two microphones, one for Eli and Kleiner, and one for Magnuson. The one near Magnuson remains on even after the conversation is interrupted. So there's our explanation for why some guns sound weird in this hallway. The microphone is picking them up and playing them again from another spot, but at the same volume. Since these sounds are always coming from 2 feet away from the player's head, they're programmed to always sound as loud as ever no matter how far away you are, just like music would be, for instance. But this still doesn't explain why only the SMG and pistol sound so odd. Every other weapon sounds fine, if a little more airy. While Valve was very careful about microphone placements in Half-Life 2, they were not so much in Left 4 Dead 2. In Dead Center Map 2, the gun shop owner's voice originates here, but is then sent through a microphone and out here. This microphone, seemingly unintentionally, uses a special flag to erase the original sound and play only the voice at the destination entity. This doesn't apply only to the gun shop owner. It works with any survivor or infected voice.
Bullshit. Damn. Son of a bitch. Incoming!
Same thing happens at the, what do you know, microphone in Dark Carnival's finale and in Passing Map 1. The portals in Portal 1 use the microphone entity to transmit sounds between portals, though they're a bit picky about what they pick up. What's funny about these is that the entity the microphones use as their target to send the sounds to the other portal are an entity called ENV Speaker. Judging by the name, you'd think this entity's purpose is to play sounds that come from a microphone, but it's actually completely unrelated. ENV Speaker is used to make NPCs say lines periodically, like to nag the player to do something. The perceived relationship between these entities is a common misconception among community mappers, so it is possible that whoever was programming these entities in was genuinely misled by the name, though it might also have been done to make it more clear that the entity's purpose is as a microphone target. The portals in Portal 2 apparently do not transmit sounds.
Checking.
The fact they use ENV microphone in Portal 1 lets us see a flaw in the microphone system. Microphones have a setting to apply different effects on the sounds they play. For whatever reason, Valve implemented this by setting a console variable when the microphone turns on to whatever value is in the microphone's effects setting, then reading what effects to apply to the sounds from that console variable. A console variable can only have one value at a time. This means all active microphones use the effects of the most recently activated microphone. Valve knew about this, so in the escape maps where GLaDOS' voice uses one of the microphone effects, they turn on a dummy microphone after she stops talking to set the convar back to a value that has no effect. This is the only way they could prevent the distortion effect from applying to sounds heard through portals, though when GLaDOS is speaking, the effect does still apply to those sounds.
You're not a good person. You know that, right? Good people don't end up here. Can you hear me?